So AI is a pretty hot topic right now, especially in the art community. I watch one video about it, and the algorithm decides to send me 50,000 more videos. Thanks, YouTube. Basically, people have a lot to say about it. And that's fair, considering how much of it has spread like wildfire across the internet, and our understanding of reality slips further from our grasp every day. But the main argument for AI is that it makes art faster and better than real people can. Moral and ethical arguments aside, should AI be used to make art? Well, I figure if AI is so superior in every way, then I should start drawing as amazingly as it can. You might think it counterintuitive to copy a style of what is essentially a blender of stolen art, regurgitated into a Frankenstein's monster of images. And you'd be right, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I haven't seen anyone else doing this, and that means I'm the first. Which is probably not true. I didn't check before making this video. Anyway, before I can draw like AI, I'll need to do some research, learn its ways. And what better place to do that than Pinterest? You all know Pinterest, the best place for artists to build a community since DeviantArt. Well, not anymore, but it is a great place to find hundreds of thousands of AI-generated images now. Which is what I'm looking for, so great. Alright, let's look at some images. So I'm gonna start with this one I found. Mush, mush, mush. They put a watermark on it. That's adorable. And then I don't even know what this is. There's like a toothbrush taped to her chest or something. Let's look at the comments. Oh, ew. She's got a witch finger. Huh. No. No. Whoa, she's tall. Look at that. Holy crap. I guess they didn't like that first one, so they generated another one. Good call, really. It's much better now. Like, why? I did it once, and then I did it twice, and again, and her forehead gets, like, bigger every time. What is this? Oh, she has no hand. I shouldn't make fun of her. She has a disability. You know, it's very inclusive of AI to generate people with disabilities. Here's another one. And instead of not having a hand, even better, he's got 3. And this is missing an eye, more disability representation. I love it. There's always like these weird, oh god. I kind of love it. Weird bullshit in the background, so I'm gonna have to make sure to add some of that in mine. Yeah, I think I've had enough of this. It's nice that she has her own hand to hold, though, isn't it? Coco. That is the weirdest way to eat an ice cream microphone I've ever seen. Why is her hand so big? I don't know if this is supposed to say something, but it doesn't. I don't know what anything is. And I never will. Okay, I'm gonna get started now. Okay, I'm gonna start with the pose. AI doesn't usually do very dynamic poses, so I'm just gonna do a regular standing pose myself. And I wanted her to be holding a cup of coffee. I know AI has a lot of trouble rendering hands, so I probably could have gotten away with not doing it, but I wanted to draw them anyway. And you know what? I think 4 fingers is probably good for a cartoon. I usually draw 5 fingers for my characters, but this'll be fine. You may notice me scribbling on the canvas from time to time, and that's because I have Tourette's. That's not a joke, I really do have it. And it does make drawing difficult sometimes, but I always manage. So that's why I don't buy it when people say that they can't draw or can't learn to draw. But speaking of which, trying to draw this back leg is driving me crazy. So you know what? We don't need it. No one will notice, right? I mean, AI wouldn't do it. I think this pose might still be a little too interesting for AI's style, but it's too late now. I'm not redoing it. I am going to redo this foot, though, because that's a hard angle to draw. And if AI has taught me anything, it's that if it's too hard to draw, you can just make up some other bullshit, and it's fine. I'm not sure why I decided to start designing her shoes first, but that's just how it ended up. I was going to have her wearing like tennis shoes, but they probably make too much sense. Honestly, if I was going to do it again, I'd probably have lines not connect, and that kind of thing, like AI does. I'm also going to give her an oversized sweater that's going to double as a hoodie, because why not? I know I wanted her to be holding a coffee before, but now I kind of want her to also be holding a cat. Why choose? I can do both. AI has taught me that I can have my cake and eat it too. Just mush them together. There we go. And I'm going to give it 2 tails just for the heck of it. And it's going to be melting into the lid like a true abomination. Also, I was going to do 4 fingers. I think on this hand I'll do 6 fingers. But I don't really want to go back and change her other hand. That sounds like a lot of work. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, who's really going to notice at the end of the day? Also, I'm going to give her some jewelry, some little floating earring nonsense. Because you got to get those floaty bits in there. That's how you really know it's AI style, when nothing makes any sense. Finally, moving on to the face. This was pretty important to get right because AI is usually pretty good about generating the face. And I say usually because some of those eyes are pretty weird. And that's just the anime style art I've been looking at. The more realistic stuff is probably even weirder. Next, I needed to decide on some kind of hairstyle. I wanted something cute and simple. And I also wanted to stick with the cat motif and give her some cat ear headphones. But of course they can't be symmetrical. AI doesn't know what consistency is. They have to be nonsense. Honestly, I don't think I made it nonsense enough. A lot of the times the AI won't have lines connecting at all and just have pieces that don't go anywhere. So I think I was trying to make too much sense of this challenge. I was also going to give her some kind of hat, because who wouldn't wear a hat and headphones? But I decided to just do the little tuft thing instead. Part of the fun of this was trying to think of weird details that wouldn't normally exist on clothes. And of course I gotta add the floaty bits. I decided to make one of her fingers just floating detached too, because why not? When am I ever gonna get this chance again? Speaking of cat motifs, I'm going to do more cats. As part of those weird floating creatures that sit behind the characters in these images. And it was a little too creepy before, so I kind of toned it down a little. I had to adjust a little bit of them, because even though they're supposed to be weird, I still have pride as an artist, so I want to make them at least look like something that's adjacent to a cat. And I'm going to make this squishy little fella down here. I think this is one of my favorites. No back leg, just tail. Just go straight into tail. Add some bits and bobs of stars. I don't want the background to be too busy, but I definitely want it to have that weird look that some of the other images I saw do. And here I take a break to contemplate my life choices. One of the things I wanted to make sure of when drawing all these cats is that not only are they weird, but they all have inconsistent eyes. That one up there has no eyes at all. Something about it, though, was throwing me off. Putting the image off balance, so I tried moving it around a bit. Back it goes. And I wasn't entirely sure about giving her a tail, but I think it rebalanced the image because of that weird floating cat. And I was even going to give her a second tail that didn't go anywhere, but I decided not to. Thinking back, I think I would have kept it. I am going to add another weird little cat, though. Never mind, I take it back. This one's my favorite. Also, I don't know why I didn't mention it, but I did give her a back foot. Of course, I probably put too much effort into it, really. I could have just made it a blob, and it would have fulfilled the challenge just fine. Next comes the obligatory make small adjustments until it's just right. And it takes about half an hour. I've also seen a lot of images that have random letters and writing, so I originally went with yee, like this guy. But then I found out that Kanye West changed his name to Yeet for some reason, so I can't have that. I also made gin, because doing this challenge made me want to drink. But I just get rid of all of it and settle on no, which seems appropriate. And to hit every staple of the AI style, I wanted to have writing somewhere in the drawing. But then I was possessed by the gamer spirit and I added an Among Us instead. I have no regrets. On to the line art, which is usually my favorite, but in this case, it was a little difficult trying to figure out what lines should connect and when. And then, of course, I was working on the eyes, and something about them, I don't like, honestly. I end up changing them at the very end. If eyes are the window to the soul, then she has no soul. The anime girls that AI generates only have two expressions, happy or blank stare. Not a lot of variety, but I decided to go with happy. You know, for a program that supposedly has unlimited potential, it sure is limited in a lot of other ways, like creativity, uniqueness, soul. But I'm not really here to talk about that. There are so many other people who have covered the topic of AI, and they're a lot more articulate than I am. I'm just here to do silly drawings. Honestly, at this part, even I was getting confused of what was what. Thankfully, because of the nature of this challenge, it doesn't really matter anyway. If anything, I kinda like how chaotic everything turns out. I used to be really rigid in how I would draw things. A perfectionist, if you will. So much so that I challenged myself to draw in my sketchbooks with only pen, no pencil, so that I couldn't erase or change anything. And that actually did help me, so I'd recommend it for anyone struggling with perfectionism. Her copy kind of looks like it says sass now. Man, I could use a coffee. What do people talk about when they do drawings? I don't know. I kind of said everything I had to say. Why don't we zoom past this part a little bit? That was supposed to be a speeding up sound effect. I'm not good at sound effects. Onto the coloring. In the spirit of this AI mimicry challenge, I just picked a bunch of colors at random. I wanted them to at least somewhat go together, that's why I did like a little test one in the corner. I really wanted to do kind of the pastel girl thing. I actually did a pastel girl drawing in the past. That's when that pastel girl app was really popular and everyone was making their own OCs. 'Twas a simpler time. As I color this, I can't help but notice those two cats. And I don't know, they kind of. It ended up looking like they're doing something inappropriate. That was not intentional. I've been staring at this too long. I think my brain is melting. I should go back and take the warp tool to this to make everything look a little meltier. Because it's just too clean, I think. And yes, I am putting off finishing her eyes, so they're pretty creepy. Dead eyes staring at me while I draw. But like I said, I had a lot of trouble with them, and so I just decided to put it off by messing with her hair color. AI uses a lot of gradients, I noticed, um, but something about it just wasn't looking right, so I just stick to her having dyed bangs. I'm not a big fan of that soft gradient brush. Finally working on the eyes. You know, up close they look okay, but every time I zoom out, I just get scared. They're so uncanny, which is great because that's how I feel looking at AI images. All the same, I'm gonna take a break and work on the shadows. Thankfully, the shadows don't have to make any kind of sense. Because, like I said, this is an AI challenge after all. And it has no idea how light sources work, so I'm just gonna throw these bad boys down wherever. And I'm using this interesting mauve color. I hear a lot of artists say never shade with purple. I know you're not supposed to shade with black, but I mean, you can if you want. I just picked a random color to be perfectly honest. Normally I'll shade with blue on cool tones, and I'll shade with red on warm tone colors. But it also depends on kind of the mood of the piece. And since the mood of this piece is completely nonsensical, that's why I choose kind of in the middle. And no, I'm not just saying that to make up for the fact that I said I just picked a random color. And back to struggling with the eyes. Nope, still dead and soulless. A lot of AI images use like white pupils or no pupils at all for their anime, which I don't know, it just looked weird. So I'm gonna forget all my problems for right now and just do highlights. And I picked this nice, pretty blue. We're on to the finishing touches. I also went back and added a thicker outline to the outside, just to make it look more finished. And, ta-da! Pink. I wanted it to look a little more uniform, more pastel colored, so I added a pink color over the top. But it's a little intense, so I'm gonna tone it down a little bit. And I think it's just about done. I just want to soften it a little more by coloring the outline. I was gonna go with a blue color, but since the shadows were purple, I think purple would work better. And the colors were still a little bit too clear, so I added some weird color variation like I've seen in some of the other images. I think it was just what I needed to kind of finish it up. And there you have it. It's done. I even added in all the little close-ups, some which are more questionable than others. But I got to keep her original eyes in the top right one, so it all worked out for the best. So what do you think? How'd I do? Would you think this was AI generated if you saw it on Pinterest? You'd probably just assume it is. I mean, what artist would be crazy enough to draw this way on purpose? Honestly, this was a pretty interesting experience overall. I never would have thought that I'd be trying to draw something like this as a challenge. Times really have gotten weird, haven't they? All jokes aside, if it still wasn't clear what my stance on AI is, at least in creative fields like art, writing, and music, yeah, it sucks.